Welcome to the Bureau of Citizen Detectives, the officially unofficial podcast for Yellowjackets on Showtime. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're back for another episode of Yellowjackets. It's Season 2, Episode 8, It Chooses. Aaron, what'd you think of this episode?
Well, I felt like I got a lot of internet points, or someone did, because a lot of the base theories that we've been talking about in terms of, you know, what is the Antler Queen kind of process and how do they select victims, and you know, Walter dropping a dime to the cops, like a lot of things were coming into focus, and I really enjoyed that. There's a lot of like really gut punch stuff, like Javi's death. What a crazy thing to survive the things he survived and then to die in that circumstance.
Yeah. What is the wilderness trying to say about Javi? Keeping him alive for months on end and under a tree only to have him die in the lake.
Yeah, you should have stayed hidden. These girls are dangerous, Javi. But on the others, and so I liked a lot of this stuff. And it's the penultimate episode, so things should get kooky. But I do wonder about the pacing of some of this, because it felt like I was impressed by how well developed the ritual was. You know, with Shauna, who's kind of been the holdout, like contributing to a lot of that. Maybe that's just all stuff coming together. Like Shauna's already crazy and had this kind of crazy Jackie fixation, so the necklace and all that. Maybe that all, but it's like it felt a lot more developed, especially in absence of Lottie. These are just what the kids came up with. I felt like that was a little bit too, like I needed another missing link between, you know, this phase of the hunt and where we get to in season 1. Or the season 1 premiere. And then I also thought Lottie was a little, you know, quick to be like, let's just let the wilderness kill one of us. You know, I know that they've been kind of like building towards that in her tenuous grasp, but like she went from, you know, 10 minutes left in the last episode, guys, I don't know if we should even do this, to like 10 minutes into this episode, well, you know what we got to do? We got to drink poison tea. And I again, I don't even know if this is a real criticism. It's just that it's things I felt when I was watching it. It's like, wow, we are covering a ton of ground in retrospect. How did you feel about the episode?
Yeah, I'm similarly torn on this episode. I think the big events that happen are pretty awesome. I like to see the development. I want this to speed up just a little bit, because I do think especially the stuff with Javi, has been idling. It has been idling. Like, not having Javi say anything when he gets back really annoyed me. And so we resolved that this episode. I'm happy for that. But then there's things like, I felt like the show is not playing super honest with me, especially with the Aquila mouse stuff. I'm like, you're establishing a language here through your cinematography, where you're saying, okay, you see the blur, right? And that's the influence of the wilderness, or something around that. But you go back, and I went back and I looked at the scenes where she first finds this mouse, and there's none of that. So like, I don't feel like the show is playing super honest with me. I feel like it has slight pacing issues. Nothing I'm really gonna like get offended by, but all of that kind of adds up to something that makes me a little nervous about the direction of the show.
Yeah, they're red flags. Everything could end just fine. It's just things you notice. You're like, I hope they've really thought this through, because it's like also like sometimes these disclosures that are actually obstructions. We don't, you know, like Javi says something and takes agency in this episode, and then he dies. But like Coach Ben finds his hideout. So like we found out a lot of questions, like how does this kid survive out here? You know, the underground steam pipe, geothermal vents thing turned out to have, you know, some merit to it. But like they also kill off Javi, and Javi's the only one that can answer questions, because he's had experiences out there beyond just chilling in this sauna and eating rodents and whatnot, right? And we'll never know that now because he's dead. And that's it's clever in a frustrating way to like answer things, but also shut doors so you'll never get answers. And it makes me think. It's one of those things. Like I said, these are kind of red flags that are, giving me the idea that maybe these people are making it up as they go along a little bit too much, a little bit more than I would be comfortable with. It's not just that we don't know exactly where we're going, it's kind of intuiting, but like they really don't, because like it's hard to believe they invested so much. Like, how many episodes has Avi been around?
Like 5,
and we keep checking him, and then he's the just to be the sacrifice. Like, and what is that going to do to Travis? And it's just like, just as Travis is warming back up to Natalie and kind of like, you know what, no matter what, you're a good person, Natalie. Then she kills his brother, arguably,
Sure. At the very least, lets him die.
Yes.
To save her own skin. So, yeah, and then at the same time, the other thing that's frustrating is, and the reason I'm torn on this show, is they're doing things in the adult timeline that I really enjoy too. Yeah. And not to say that I don't enjoy the stuff that was happening in the 1996 timeline, but getting the Yellowjackets talking as adults, I think, was super fun. Number one, like all this finger pointing and blame, like them going right back to being these petty teenagers, right?
It's like the Mr.
If you hadn't done this, then I wouldn't have had to do.
It's like the Mr. Meeseeks scene from Rick and Morty, Well, you got me into this. Well, he got me into this. Well, she got me. It just goes back and yeah,
totally. But I like them actually talking and information kind of getting out there and everybody getting back on the same page. That's exciting to me. And then Lottie being just full on bonkers. They don't resolve that scene, which kills me. It's in a good way though, right? Like, this is a type of cliffhanger that I'm okay with, I guess, because like I just need to know what everybody's going to decide. They're all kind of sitting around at the end just sort of thinking, should we drink this obvious poison? Should we sacrifice one of us to what? Make the cops go away, I guess?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, if Lottie
Jay
makes
get
this
caught
jump,
streaking in public or something, so he's a pervert and the court can throw out the case. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the pacing I'm talking about. It's like, it's not just Lottie decides that she's going to just give in to the craziness. It's just the rest of the group, like a quorum of these 6 women are going to like, okay, well, just hear her out. All right, one of us is going to walk out. Yeah. One of us is not going to walk out of this room, but let's just hear her out. Like, and especially how matter-of-fact she is about it. But I mean, I guess she's a true believer, and all of her remaining reservations got swept away last episode. Oh
yeah, no, she's essentially an avatar of the wilderness at this point.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, also, as much as we learn in this episode, I still don't know that there's anything that would shift the person who's on team paranormal versus team, what was this? Harry Potter versus team Isaac Newton. Because
it's all hunger, right? They place the blame on hunger.
Yeah. It's hunger. I mean, the show's giving you the rational explanations. Like, oh, the kid didn't, he wasn't plugged into some root system like some umbilical cord. He was just chilling in a natural hot spring and eating the animals that he could capture. It's like, that's about enough. That's about enough mid-sized small animals that would keep a lad going for 6 to 8 weeks. There's plenty of water. Like, there's nothing demands a supernatural explanation, and yet. Yeah. But it's like, if we're like, also for 2/5 the way through this, they, I guess they have a rough idea of this being about a 5-season arc, is what I've seen. I don't know. Maybe that all works out. I do wonder if they're going to have a 5-season arc. How are they going to continue to? What's their plan for? I guess a lot of the women that are playing the teenage girls are actually full grown. Like, they're not going to change a lot. Because I was just wondering, are they going to have like a Stark Kid situation? But the only one that might have, Javi, they fucking killed. So,
right. Nah,
so I guess I guess, you did good job casting 28-year-olds as 17 and 18-year-olds, because they're just all done cooking. They're all done cooking.
All right. Maybe we should get into the recap.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we start off in 96 after the vicious beating by Shauna. Mari and Misty help Lottie pee, then put her to bed. Mari is not being helpful, so Misty tells her off. And on the way downstairs, she drops the bedpan. And we get a shot of Lottie where she's pretty out of it, hallucinating, seeing visions.
Yeah, I'm. You mentioned this wilderness effect. This is a kind of a new camera effect. I'm calling it the Barbara Walters mid-90s interview filter. Very soft focus, hazy and over and blown out on the edges.
Yeah. Or hunger cam. It could just be hunger cam.
It could be delusional hunger cam, yeah, / the wilderness cam. Mari,
but that doesn't explain why Akilah weeks ago on the show, I think episode 3 or something, 4 maybe, did not see this particular vision when she saw the live mouse.
Especially since they just got done eating Jackie at that point, right? Was that just before, just after Jackie?
So did the mouse decompose in her pocket over the course of like a week?
No. I'm trying to suggest if there is like if this is hunger cam. You know, if did she find that mouse she found post Jackie, correct?
Almost certainly.
I was trying to think.
I mean, definitely post Jackie. I don't know how long though.
I'm post Jackie being eaten, not just post Jackie dying, because she spent the first couple of weeks, first couple episodes in the season in the bear freezer. But my point is, I'm trying to see if there is like an explanation for why. But if she's not hungry, then there's really, if you're saying that that's not the hunger cam, that's the wilderness cam, then that is by definition, I guess, putting your thumb on the woo-woo side of things.
Well, my only point here is that they're not being honest with the way they film this stuff, because the mouse was always dead, right? Can we establish that? The mouse was always a corpse. This mouse is way too far mummified to have ever been alive.
But to go back to dishonesty, I'm trying to think that, like, is this, if they're suggesting it's the hunger cam, if she first established the mouse ownership before they'd eat Jackie, then maybe... But you're right. They're not using they're inventing a filter to let you know that something is happening. But like, I don't know. There's precedent for that, right? Like, or is there? Because I keep on going back to Westworld, and I know we had mixed feelings about Westworld, but like, I think Westworld would do the classic. There's several times where people realized they were in a simulation. And the aspect ratio change was always a subtle hint that you were in a simulation or in the real world. But a couple times people thought they're in the real world, and then they woke to the fact that they're in a simulation, and suddenly the aspect ratio would change. And like, is that dishonest? Because they had a clearly established like visual thing of like, well, when they're but they they fooled the host and therefore the audience. I don't know if it, like I said, and honestly, you can get away with whatever you can get away with as long as the audience goes along with you. But I do, I'm with you. I'm worried that they are kind of fucking with us here in a way that's not fun or satisfying.
With that stuff.
You know, like my canonical example is always The Usual Suspects. Right? Like everybody talks about what a mind-blowing twist. I never thought that was a twist. I always thought that was just like, well, that's just the director lying to you for a whole fucking movie, and then completely changing the meaning of everything in the last 5 minutes and be like, whoo, aren't I so clever? It's like, no, it's just stupid. But I don't know. Some people think it's amazing.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing I think is amazing is I believe the dripping that Mari is hearing is this pee.
It might be.
Down the stairs in the bedpan.
It might be. How do we feel about the theory of Mari dealing dirty on the chores cards?
I don't think that's true anymore. I think it might be the wilderness.
Really?
You know, if you want to go with the supernatural.
Because I'm just thinking that, like, because here's my evidence. Mari, I always thought she had a slight bit of a smirk when she bops up and she tells Crystal and Misty that it's your turn to empty the piss bucket and the shit bucket again. There's like a little bit of like a maliciousness there. We know that from Misty and Crystal's perspective, they got the shit detail far more often than any other girl. And in here, Mari is just like actively disgusted by handling someone else's. I get it. This is like a sick person's urine. a lot of protein, a lot of blood in there. But she's just like uniquely like, oh god, such a baby about it.
Yeah, and she doesn't like Misty, so she's being extra shitty about the whole thing.
I feel like I feel like it's one notch stronger after this week. I feel like I'm there.
My evidence against it is Nat talks some shit about Lottie this episode, says maybe it wouldn't be so bad if she died, and then she pulls that queen. And I don't, if you want to go supernatural, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's the wilderness's influence. So it could be that the wilderness had Crystal go out there with Misty, knowing that she would not come back.
Yeah, at this point that is a also valid theory. Yeah.
So
if I will say that my predictive value of the Mari being a dirty dealer is that she's going to get busted manipulating the wilderness at some point and get her ass hunted.
Yeah, she was a blackjack dealer before she came out here. She was moonlighting as a blackjack dealer at the school staff parties. I don't know. Double dealing. All right, current day. After the dance party, Shauna tells the other Yellowjackets that the police found Adam's body. She tells them also that she has to go home. Van can't get answers but knows that something is going on, so she throws Shauna's keys in the woods so she can't leave and demands answers. And then Shauna admits that she told Jeff about Adam. And Lottie moves the conversation to the sharing shack.
They're causing a scene amongst the Purple People cult.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing all their founder and her BFFs or besties having kind of a heated argument.
Misty's character is preserved in this episode. Her skills are untarnished because she wasn't the one who buried Adam. She didn't hide the body. Nat did, and Nat was very careless, apparently.
Probably didn't bury her didn't bury him the recommended 6 foot deep, surely. And also that she had removed the tattoo with the cheese grater, apparently. Jesus. And then
we talked about that, right? Maybe he'd have like some body tattoos, but they covered it.
Yeah, they had all that covered. So Misty still gets to reign as Queen Supreme of the true crime podcast enjoyers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. And that's the thing is like I now I'm back to like, did Walter, what do you think? And we're a little early on these scenes, but what the hell?
Yeah.
What do you think about does this say anything about Walter dropping it? Because like the one thing I didn't understand is how the hell Walter would know that the body was buried at this particular park.
Yeah, I don't think he did. I think he's surprised to find.
I thought so because I did that scene where he is putting the puzzle together. Like it read to me as someone who's surprised and is ready to take advantage of something. It wasn't like because I'm sure there'd be some people that'll write in and say, no, this is Walter seeing stage 1 of his plan work and he's starting stage 2. I don't know because he's that didn't read that way to me. Also, when he pops up his email, he's just sending it from his. Looks like it's just sending it from his email address, to the cops. So it's like,
yeah, I don't know what sophisticated. He's a hacker, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what sophisticated systems he has set up in his fucking Apple Mail client or whatever.
But it's like, is he really spoofing different addresses? Like they didn't. I mean, they could have implied that easily.
They could have,
but they didn't. Yeah. So I'm thinking, everyone's theory is half true that he is willing to contact the police to get Misty into something, but he had nothing to go on, and that made sense because how unless Misty directly told him, which I think would be dirty, not show that conversation. How in the world would he guess where they dump a body? Yeah. So it sounds like of all of them, if anyone fucked them, it's Natalie for not digging the body deep enough.
Mm-hmm. It seems like it, yeah.
He's in there pretty deep.
I will say also with that email thing, he sends it without a subject line. which I found interesting. I don't know about you. I never send an email without a subject line. I'm trying to get somebody's attention because I know they get a billion emails, right? The cops probably get a billion emails.
The Wiskatoski or whatever the hell this town's cops. I don't know if they do. I don't know if Matt and maybe Kevin get just shit tons of. But yeah, I noticed.
I mean, you got to cut through the spam alone, so you need some catchy headline like "You'll never guess."
Well, I will say this:
what Adam's body was up to before you found it.
He hasn't actually finished composing the email, though, right? He's like, I have some information. I think that you. Oh, he really just dot.
Yeah, they did the sound, the kind of.
Oh well, then yeah, he's a maniac. Sending in those. So I mean, what?
Right.
What in the name of? Like, who does that? Is that a millennial thing?
No, lunatics. Lunatics do that.
Lunatics? Okay.
Yeah, Moriartys looking for their Sherlocks do that.
I also like not. I feel like people using email less and less. Like email today is the equivalent of snail mail 20 years ago.
I think the cops are getting like signal texts. I don't think so. I think the cops are still on email. I think this is the appropriate venue to speak to the cops.
Yeah, but the cops probably use fax machines still too.
True.
And that's like pioneer.
I'm not arguing society hasn't moved on from email largely, but the cops have not.
I feel like the younger generations especially just don't use email very much. Like when they have to. The same way we feel about like faxes and running to the post office. Like, oh God, I guess I'll send you an email.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to 96 where Ty sees the dark version of herself. She lies to Van about it. Then Van gives Jackie's belt to Mari to add to the stew. Nat wonders aloud to Coach if it wouldn't be better if Lottie died because of the weird hold she has on the others. She also mentions that she saw Javi bowing to one of the symbol trees, which piques his interest.
They really are using this Barbara Walter 90s interview filter a lot. Like, it's come out of nowhere. We see Ty notice it when she sees Dark Ty leering at her to her left side, her sinister side. Is this just a stylistic choice that a director made, or is this a conscious? Because I can't remember seeing this much elsewhere, but this episode is lousy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because the wilderness is if we're going to go with the supernatural theory, is it because the wilderness is exerting a more powerful control now, where it's been more subtle up to this point?
It's possible. I just don't trust it though. Like that's the thing. If they had been a little more consistent with this, I would trust it more, but I don't feel comfortable saying what this is because it's the first time I've seen it.
Yeah,
and in context where I should have seen it before if it was consistent.
And also, it's like it might be our fault for reading a little bit too much into, like, you know, they could be like, Jesus Christ, these are all just generic crazy person effects that we're using interchangeably between the VHS filter and the wilderness filter and the I forget the other one we discussed last week. You know, it's like if you're watching like Breaking Bad and you see Walter White out in the desert and his vision is swimming, you don't think, oh my God, the wilderness is taking over. You just think, oh, guys, like, it could be that we are so up this show's ass trying to figure everything out that they're just like, we're just using various generic, you know, we threw in a VHS one because Ty's got a VHS store, and we thought this is like essentially season 1 True Detective. Oh, those spiral graphs were just for my kid's homework project, and I thought they looked cool, and they're authentic kid art, so we'll just hang them up in, you know, Marty's kids. It has nothing to do with the Yellow King and anything. It's like, it was just, I do wonder if some of this is just artistic choices that they're doing to tell the story and we're taking it way too far.
It's possible. Maybe the way we watch television has evolved to the point where we are picking out small-ish details like this and saying, hey, they must mean something. But I don't know. I think that's fair. I think when you're talking about a language, which cinema certainly is, what is being said is important.
Of course. And also, there's also, you're running an adult puzzle box show in the year 2023. So
You got to know. You're under the
people are
microscope,
going
right?
to, yes, they're going to play sounds backwards and forwards, and they're going to they're going to run everything through a negative image spectralizer, and
They know this, right? They're setting up phone numbers for people to call with
there's
voicemail
that.
messages and news, all that stuff. So they
But
know.
nobody can be perfect. So
Oh, that's fair too. But this seems big. Seems pretty big. It's not like it was one frame of a show that was misplaced or something. It's a whole damn filter across this entire episode.
And unless they do something to really swerve from it next episode, there's going to be entire scaffolding of theories built around the filters and when they're used and why. Yeah. And yeah.
Yep. People do that with the POV.
I do hope it is significant.
I like this scene juxtaposed to the previous one because the previous one is where Van is talking, is like upset that nobody's cluing her in, and it's so obvious that something is going on here. And she just straight up, like, Ty, I think throws out a pretty solid, well-performed lie. And Van's like, "You're lying to me." And then they cut to this scene where we see Ty, and she's been doing it a lot in this timeline, lying to Van, and Van starting to acknowledge, oh, I can see Ty is lying to me here. So it really paints a picture of like how well they know each other, doing that in both timelines.
Yeah, and I'd really continue to enjoy the juxtaposition where they have, they'll have Ty screaming in one timeline and then they go back and she's looking pensive in another. I thought that's really cool.
Then Coach sneaks into Javi's bag and finds his drawing of tree roots.
You can definitely see that he is feeling a sense of urgency to do something, like what Nat's saying about this thing with Lottie and the crazy thing that happened with Lottie and that Javi's bowing before the tree symbol. Like, Coach wants to try to get the bottom of this.
Yeah, I guess my question is why? Why is he like going from the height of despair to like driven man on a mission? And what is the mission, I guess? Is it to uncover whatever influence?
So that's a good question. Feeling? I don't know that I can answer the radical change of direction between I want to kill myself, I just don't want to be around anymore, and I want to Scooby-Doo this shit. But I think something in Misty did kind of recall him to his duty, that you are the only adult, that these girls are just that. The oldest of them is like 17. Like they're counting on you. And if they're descending into barbarity with an adult present, what will they do? But he also sees that he's losing control of the situation. So I my headcanon, because I'm a man of science, is that Coach is trying to find out like something that will make all this explainable so that he can, sit down and tell the girls like, okay, girl, I understand we all got excited about the wilderness, blah, blah, blah. But look here, Kate, Javi's been chilling in a sauna. And that will happen next episode anyway. I'm kind of, there's
Coach needs to stay under that tree. When he gets back and finds out what has gone on while he's been absent.
Well, they're setting things up where he's like, guys, I found a paradise. Has plenty of, we're going to be warm. We're going to be well fed. And like, they're all eating Javi. And he's going to be, God damn it.
Yeah. I leave the house for 20 minutes and you people can't help but eat each other.
Yeah. Yeah. It's bloody chaos. Literally.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what goes on with him next time. Speaking of eating things, Aquila considers eating Nugget's corpse, but can't do it. Thank goodness. I was squirming that whole time.
God.
Mari and
I hate it because like my brain unbidden helpfully supplies what it thinks that would taste like. Have you ever seen that like in a movie? Anytime someone like I don't want it. I don't want it. It's I don't know what the hell it is, but like every time someone puts their tongue to something disgusting in a movie or a television show, my brain's like, hey, I bet that tastes like. And the unholy jerky that my brain was conjuring up for me as she was considering eating that was just I
think it has the texture.
The smell.
You know when you're eating Whoppers and you get the one that's bad?
Yes.
It has that texture.
Only it's going to taste like rotted flesh. It's going to be those dud Whoppers. They're just full of like malted earwax or whatever, but it's gonna be the flavor of decayed guts.
Oh boy.
Because it's like it's been freeze dried, and like as soon as that reconstitutes in your mouth, it's all that shit's gonna come back. Oh god, yeah, it's bad. It's
Everybody
bad.
listening to this podcast at lunch out there, you're welcome.
You're welcome. What are you doing listening to? What do you do? So the one time my wife and I were about to sit down and watch a show, but we had dinner. We were going to eat dinner and watch something, and she suggested Yellowjackets. Like, are you out of your fucking mind? You're going to eat dinner in front of Yellowjackets? No fucking way. How about we watch an Always Sunny episode and then watch Yellowjackets when we're done eating? Because so
Good
don't
call.
listen to a Yellowjackets podcast or watch an episode if you're
It's like going in the pool, right? You don't do it an hour before or after you eat.
Exactly.
And definitely not during. Nobody's taking a meal into the pool. The other thing that happens in this scene, Mari and Ty both hear dripping, and then I think only Mari sees blood coming through the walls of the cabin. Van tries to say, that's just hunger, but I don't know, man. And she's screaming they're dead the whole time. Who is she talking about?
I'm assuming the girls, but in context, grammatically, it's very weird, and they know that. They're dead.
Oh yeah.
Why would you say we're dead or she's dead but there is this? Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I'm guessing there's going to be some provocative hints about who inhabited the cabin before the end of this season. That's the only thing I can think of, because that would have someone saying they instead of us.
Okay, I like it.
Is the dripping theory is there any reality here, or is this all delusions? Because Ty heard it too. Now, is that because Ty is also tuned into the wilderness darkness in a way that is kind of unique to her, or is it because there is, because the other hot theory was there is some sort of underground tunnel system, mining system, maybe spring-fed cave system that she's hearing dripping, or do you think this is just full-on Shining style delusion?
I don't know, man. It's a real good question. This episode has a lot of kind of water-based stuff in it. You get the steam coming out from under these trees. You've got Javi falling in the lake. The aforementioned pee basin. There's a lot of liquids flowing around in this episode. I'm not sure if they're trying to get at something like
leaking, dripping. What's one from another?
Yeah. Like, I don't know, maybe when they bring Javi back, something will happen that will make it all make sense.
Maybe that's just
he will be very wet.
Mari, she's just so afraid of bloody urine, she's seeing it with her waking eyes now. It's just like it's seeping in through the cracks.
I mean, you saw what happened when she had to handle who empties the pee bucket, or the poop bucket, I guess.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
She's the keeper of the excrement. Mm-hmm. So I suppose she could be haunted by visions of urine. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, especially when you've been wearing it. Ugh.
Yeah.
She's covered. The rest of this episode, she's covered in Lottie piss. Strong brew, that we're told.
That's true. Also, strong brew, and it spills all over the floor downstairs. So that add that to the aroma that's been festering in that cabin.
That cabin is smelling ripe.
Ugh.
It is not freeze dried.
No. All right, current day, the cops show up at Jeff's house with search warrant. They toss the house, question Jeff. Callie talks some shit to Matt until he says that she's just like her mom, which kind of shuts her up. Kevin tries to get answers from Jeff, and it doesn't really work. Matt shows him some fucked up pictures of Adam's corpse, and when Kevin points out how fucked up they are, Jeff clams up and kicks him out. But it seems to hit home.
I keep on wanting to find something nefarious about Adam, but the show keeps on saying things like, "Oh, actually, he's a bone marrow donor." Kind of like one of the best types of people that you can be. And I'm like,
seems
fuck.
Fine. Yeah.
I fucking hate Matt. I hate him every single God. He's so. I mean, I shouldn't let this happen in real life. I hope I wouldn't. But like I kind of want the killers to get away just so he's humiliated.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm
just
with
so
you.
he's
I
brought
think,
down a peg.
well, he started this whole investigation off on the wrong foot.
Yeah,
if he had had
the
official
poisonous bullshit tree,
yeah, if he had official support from the police department and hadn't seduced an underage girl in a bar by buying her drinks, I'd be way more on his side. But
does the show think this? Because I don't even know if that's wrong. I don't know that a police officer in the course of investigating a murder cannot buy a 16-year-old a drink. I don't know.
If it's illegal. It's wrong. It's ethically wrong.
Okay, I'll go with that. I don't know if it's illegal because this show is acting like it's not. This show's acting like, well, as long as your partner doesn't think you're a pedophile rapist, then the investigation will go on. There's no...
Right.
You know, but I guess then Callie... no, it's not Callie. It is Callie. Cassie? Mm-hmm. Callie. Callie comes back with, well, let's see what happens on the stand when they, you know... And I feel like she's got the right of it, but Matt backed her off with the, oh, well, wait until they hear what a crazy person your mother is, and you're just going to be... You know, the apple not falling far from the psycho tree. That doesn't seem. I don't know. It does. I just thinking if I was a jury, of course I'm pretty liberal progressive. But if I'm on a jury and I hear a 16-year-old daughter of the investigator credibly accuse the lead investigator of sexually assaulting her, it's going to cast a pall in the rest of the state's evidence. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. I don't think so.
But I don't know. Maybe the judge would make an announcement being like, hey, you gotta ignore all this. It's our officers are allowed to perv in the name of justice. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I continue to enjoy watching Jeff do his thing in this scene. He's on. That's the thing about Jeff. He's always like kind of on the right track generally, and should just follow that. But then he veers off. Like, yes, you ask for a lawyer. No, that doesn't make you look guilty. Do it. Why are you sitting down at this table looking at all these horrible pictures? Just say, I'm not answering questions until I get a lawyer.
Dude, I mean, people just don't. I mean, I've watched enough police interrogation stuff to know that people just think that they just get in a situation, they get gripped up. They think, you know, that officer, because they don't start off being like, oh, you're fucking, you know, throwing the book at you and where are you, unless they got you dead to rights. They're going to be very like, oh, you know, anybody could do the thing, you know, everybody can flip out when you're under stress. They'll tell you whatever to get you to open up to them, right? And then people just fucking lose their mind and decide, oh, I gotta, if I'm not cooperative, it'll make me look bad. And then you get Jeff here, who, like, everything about him, like the way he hilariously over-explains his wife being at the spa. You know, it's like, you know, all Kevin has to do is sit there with a neutral look on his face, and Jeff will, keep volunteering, and yeah. And this is also the rolling disclosures of Shauna really taking him off guard, right? Like, he's like, okay, she met this guy, had an affair, she killed this guy. Like, knowing that your wife killed a man, thinking that she was trying to protect you and the family is one thing, then being confronted with the visuals of her electric kitchen knifing him apart and cheese grating his tattoo. History. That is, you can tell that really shakes him. It's like, I thought I understood the level of fucked up that Shauna is, and now it's like, no, it's more like Hannibal Lecter levels. This isn't a woman pushed to the edge. This is just a perhaps crazy person. And it really fucks him up. That, and also think that finding out that the more he finds out about Adam, that like, oh God, what if Adam was just a normal dude? What if he was even a good dude? And my wife killed him for no reason. It does make him sick, to his credit.
Yeah, and it should worry him. I mean, he's in a situation where he is trapped, right? He's either going to go down with this ship if it goes down, or he could possibly end up murdered. You know, what's to say Shauna wouldn't kill him?
Yeah, at this point it does feel like, and I've said this all season long, it does feel like Jeff's kind of fucked. There's no...
Yeah, he's stuck. Rock and a hard place kind of
There's no coming back for this, yeah. He's probably going to die or be in jail.
Hopefully not soon, because I enjoy watching him. All right, the Yellowjackets catch each other up on the situation by pointing fingers and laying blame. Ah, tried and true. Shauna reveals that she told Jeff about Adam. Misty reveals that Ty hired Jessica to spy on them and that she killed Jessica. Which I love.
I took care
Misty's
of it.
so unbothered by murder. I took care of it like I always do.
Yeah, and
Her
she
chipper expression.
and then you could tell that she really thought the people were going to spontaneously be like, "Oh, thank God for Misty, thank God for Misty. She's really there for us," and she did not get that.
No, it's I really like these scenes. I think they're very well done, but they're so frustrating at the same time, right? Like, look, all this stuff has happened. Who cares whose fault it was? We got to figure out how to get past it. We got to figure out the solution here, not who's to blame.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But I don't know, for whatever reason, these women, well, no, I mean, it's for a good reason. These women don't want to, they're not going to be easily admitting to being bad, especially Misty, bad actors. Like Misty, you know, everybody else is being like, man, that experience in the wilderness fucked us up and did all this and that. And Misty won't. She's like, oh, no, it made us stronger and we're able to do the things we need to be. Like, she is not, I did the thing that was obvious that had to be done, and it took strength and courage. And she's in deep denial about how fucked up the situation was out there. And maybe it's because she was already pre-fucked up. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, she was definitely...
Like she has always been in the wilderness, and then when she went out there, she like felt at home, you know, where the other ladies maybe not so much.
Yeah, never change, Misty. You're a pleasure to watch. Speaking of Misty, let's go back to 96, where she sees Coach modifying his crutches to be better than the snow, and she worries about him, but he puts her mind at ease. Yeah, fair reasoning. Unless he's trying to go back out to the cliff. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to get there with all the snow. I need to... You know, I noticed, I wasn't sure if it's in this scene or the previous one, but like they established that there are snowshoes on the walls of the cabin, and yet no one uses them. But they're gonna have they're gonna have Coach, the one-legged character, fashion hilariously ineffective snow poles.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they would be more effective than I'm giving them credit, but I don't know. They're pretty small.
What's he gonna do? Strap a snowshoe to each of his crutches?
I'm just talking about like people who have been out there walking all the time, like Nat and Travis. But yeah, strap one snowshoe to your foot, and then
Onto a crutch.
Then build like he's on the right track. He does just need to be like twice as big, I think. But maybe not. I was thinking of like ski poles have a basket at the end about that size, but like I don't know that ski poles would hold up the cross country 3-foot snow hiking.
Yeah, I don't know how sturdy they are.
But then again, like if you look at grown people's snowshoes, they're not as big as you'd think you'd need to be to keep you from sinking through the snow. You know, like the size of a tennis racket. I don't know. Maybe I should retract. Maybe.
Coach,
I've talked myself out. I've talked myself into Coach knowing what he's doing with these poles.
Yeah.
Still needs at least one snowshoe though.
I think so. Travis sees Nat and Javi getting along, and he's pleased by that, and he goes over to apologize to her about his reaction to Javi returning. I don't know, man. I didn't feel like Travis was super in the wrong. He was shitty about it, but like, does it deserve an apology? She lied to you about your brother being dead. I
think this is there's also like the many times he said implied that she's a slut or a whore or like it's not just the one thing. This is kind of like everything. You know, if I made you feel like you're not a good person, I was wrong to do that.
Because she's over there being really kind with his brother, right?
Yeah, apparently she netted him a pair of mittens, like convertible mittens or whatnot. And then also, like, this is the episode where she is going to, through her own inaction, allow him to die. So, like, is this really tight writing or is this just-in-time writing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's lined up exactly for maximum punch in the gut status for Nat when she has to explain this to Travis.
Yeah. This is like a series of unfortunate events, right?
And it's also like, I don't know that the burden should be on Nat because this is the women's idea. They all went along with it. So like if Travis wants to buck it, he's going to have to buck against like 12 of these girls, and they've already proven they can team up and kick his ass.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think Nat's definitely not solely at fault. She wouldn't have had to let Javi die. She didn't want to let Javi die, but she did it because she did it in self-defense, essentially. Although I will say there was a dubious connection between letting Javi die and preserving her own life. Because Van could have just as easily said, the wilderness demands another sacrifice or something, and boom, Nat's back on the menu, right?
Right. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's a crazy situation. Like, where it's like, well, you did pre-consent to being murdered, so everyone else can, and then you fled, and then and I don't know. It also felt like this is a loophole that they invented. Like, the other thing is like, is all this stuff going to be blessed by Lottie? Is this what the wilderness intended? Did the wilderness want Javi to die? Because it could be that they fucked up here and they spared their own. It's going to, because, notice that this also ties into what Lottie says towards the end of the episode, where it's like, what it always wants is us. And I wonder if that's how Travis makes it out of it, because they come to a conclusion that the wilderness doesn't want these men. Maybe they'll try it one more time with Coach Ben to see if it sticks. But like, there's this idea that like, I wonder if they're going to sacrifice Javi and something terrible is going to happen as a result, because the wilderness wanted Nat. The wilderness chose Nat. You guys made up some bullshit ad hoc stuff at the scene, but that presumes that there is a thing called the wilderness.
Right. This always smacks to me, or all of this stuff did, as like the prophetic like doomsday predictions, right? Like, oh, this is gonna happen at a certain time, and then when something doesn't happen but something else like kind of maybe close from a certain point of view happens, people will spin it and say, well, this is what was actually supposed to happen, right? That thing I said, it was true if you look at it from this perspective. The wilderness wanted a sacrifice, it got Javi, it's satisfied. That is a pretty easy thing to spin after the fact, but it didn't give Javi the card. So why not? If the wilderness wanted Javi, it could have said, I want Javi, by giving him the card.
Well, and it's also, we've seen that the wilderness has been set up to where it can never fail. If the
girls won't let it.
If the predictions didn't come true, it's because they lacked faith. It's the classic. If they do come true, but in like a cockeyed way, then you can squint and say, well, actually, from a certain point of view, and if the thing that happens actually happens, then obviously that's confirmation. So they're in a there's no way for Lottie and her philosophy to lose,
right? As
long as the girls go along with it and they believe it.
Yeah, they are the wilderness.
Yeah, and if you keep preaching doomsday, like you and I grew up in a bit of a doomsday religious institution. There's always looking for Armageddon to come, and if you're saying Armageddon's going to come, every once in a while you'll see a story that's like, seems like Armageddon's going to come. Holy shit, a worldwide pandemic's happening. What if this is 100 million? Oh my God, Russia's invading another country. What if this starts World War III? Oh my, but from the time I was like 5 years old to the time I was 25, I probably lived through 17 different events that could have. Turned into some crazy global conflict, but it never did. We're still here. So yeah, but like it can lend, but then if you have short-term memory, like, where all you never think about the failures, you just think about, oh, look to the future and something bad might happen, and then you see all that on display in this show.
Yep. Yeah, I like that aspect of it.
Just overlapping confirmation biases.
Lottie tells Misty not to waste her body if she dies, and we'll kind of come back to that here in a bit. Misty's pretty reluctant. She's like, nah, I don't want to do that. And then Coach consults the symbol tree map and heads out into the snow.
Yep.
At night, he does have a death wish, man. He's going out into these woods alone at night. That's insane.
It's probably the only time he can get away alone because Misty will well, I guess Misty is sleeping with Lottie, so this is maybe he feels like this is the only opportunity he'll get. Like like Lottie getting the piss beat out of her, combined with Misty's nursemaid. It's nighttime, no one else is awake. This is the only time I can get away.
Mm-hmm. And then we go back to the current day. Misty continues revealing things she's done, including impersonating the FBI, interrogating Randy. And then she connects the dots and figures out that Jeff was the actual blackmailer. Which
yeah,
the group.
This is funny because they're just again trying to play the blame game like hot potato, and Misty's justifying her actions, and when that's failing, she tries to deflect on the Shauna, but then Shauna tries to deflect on Natalie, but then that that just goes right back to Misty, and only connecting Jeff to the blackmail saves her in the end.
Yeah, I mean, when you come down to it, this is all Jeff's fault. It's all Jeff's fault.
Jeff is the wilderness.
Jeff is the wilderness, yeah.
He's the wilderness.
Some of it is Shauna's fault. She probably shouldn't have slept with Adam.
Soldier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's a fun scene because like you see the looks on everyone's faces when they realize the question is coming uncomfortably close to, you know, like Ty will have that moment about the Oppo research, and Shauna has this moment right now where it's like, you know, she wishes she could just be like, okay, stop asking questions. Okay, enough sharing. Let's get out of here. But she can't, and she's just waiting for the shoe to drop.
Oh, a masterclass in deflection and whataboutism.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So good. Then we go over to Walter, who is doing a puzzle. Multiple puzzles? I can't imagine these puzzles connect.
On one side, it had a sailing ship. On the other side, it has a kitty cat and an astronaut costume. Now, it could be one of those, like, twee histories of flight, you know, or like history of exploration. You know, it's like some kind of mural, Star Trek Enterprise intro style mural. But is he? Maybe he is. He's just puzzle hacking. He's putting together two completely different puzzles.
I feel like that's the Moriarty thing to do, right? Like, if you want to show that this guy is a mastermind, you show him doing multiple puzzles at the same time.
I thought it was interesting what he is listening to while he gets the message from the Bureau of Citizen Detectives saying that the artist's body has been found. He's listening to Not While I'm Around, a Barbra Streisand performance of it, but that's from Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. Have you seen Sweeney Todd? So Sweeney Todd's about a butcher, it's about a what do you call that, barber who starts killing people as a revenge mission, and he comes up with a deal with the lady that lives underneath him, the businesswoman, where she sells mincemeat pies, and he slits their throat. Nice. and then she delivers into the back of her, and she chops them up and sells them up front in sausages and meat pies, I believe. So like, yeah. It's just a little, and then the next thing he'll be listening to is something from Phantom of the Opera, Music of the Night, and that's about a man who kidnaps a woman because he's in love with her, and when he can't have her, tries to kill her and burn down the whole thing. It's a lot of, and also he's a genuine Broadway fan. I don't think this is an affectation he put on just for Misty, because why the hell would be listening to it by himself alone? But the things he's listening to by himself alone are pretty telling.
Interesting.
And we're sure, because I bet we're going to get feedback this week where people are going to be not so fast about this denying the theory that he let them know where Adam is. I just can't see it. It just seems like nothing in this scene tells us that this is like, mwahaha, this is my Moriarty stage 2. It's more of like, oh wow, this is something I can exploit. Also, apparently he doesn't give a fuck about all the messages Misty sent about the love proclamations.
Yeah, I was waiting for some indication that he had even received them, and there's nothing in this scene.
The only thing I can think of is he gets a very fancy outfit out. And maybe in some twisted way, he sees this Oh, maybe he's sending a tip. He's going to give the cops a tip to throw them off of the situation. And then he's going to put on his fanciest outfit and go back to the honey retreat and try to woo her.
Because he thinks that Misty killed Adam. And so he thinks that Misty is in danger here, right?
Yes.
Of being discovered.
Yes.
And she is, just not for exactly what he thinks. So my guess is he's going to try to protect his Sherlock. I don't know, so that he can bring her down.
Yeah, it's like the Joker. Cops. The Joker will beat would like, I think canonically there's a old Batman animated series episode where some punk thinks he killed the Batman, or he's bragging about it, and the Joker is like incensed. He wants to torture and murder this guy to death because he took away his favorite toy. Yeah, I can definitely see. And if anything, when I was watching this replay, this looked like a man who's concerned and taking action rather than like, ha ha ha, I'm getting my revenge. So I think they're actually rope-a-doping us, and that he was moved by the declaration of love, and he's moving to try to protect her. But we'll see.
I think it's a pretty good guess. All right, Jeff dreams that Shauna uses her electric carving knife hands to murder him, and then he wakes up. He finds Callie, can't sleep. She's in the living room drinking. And Callie asks if she's like her mother. And Jeff tells her that Shauna's fucked up because their baby died in the wilderness. And Callie feels real bad for her mom. What
psycho teenager sits in their parents' living room drinking at night? You steal the bottle of beer and you go back to your bedroom. That's the play, right?
Unless your parents are murderers and blackmailers, and then I don't think
you're
they have
in
a leg
on
to
it.
stand on if they say you shouldn't be drinking in the living room. You're like, yeah,
True.
well, you shouldn't be chopping people up into little pieces and spreading their body across New Jersey. How about that?
Did you
grand scheme, drinking this beer is not nearly.
True. She's got a lot of upper hand in the relationship all of a sudden. When did you realize that this was a fantasy sequence with Jeff being stabbed? This second he got stabbed? Well, yeah. When she got Edward electric knife hands, yeah.
Yeah. It was the first thing that tipped me off is Shauna's back here. Boy, they just cut from the blame game to Shauna, finding her keys, driving home.
Wow,
stuff. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. What are they doing with this show? And then I realized later it was a dream. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That makes it all make sense.
Yeah, you could tell it's like these are a lot of deep-seated fears that like his, trying to be a cherry lube type of guy is going to get him killed. It's going to get him killed.
Oh, what?
Do you remember him saying that it was a strawberry lube? That he
lube, yeah.
Like Shauna brought up using that, and he's like, oh, that's something for, what did he say? For something for sissies, or I can't remember what, or goth. That's how goths fuck. I don't know exactly what.
Probably. Yeah.
What I don't know exactly what he said, but he said something denigrated about it. He's like, I could have been the strawberry lube guy, and strawberry lube guy might get him killed.
Yeah, get his skin grated off like a rind of pecorino. Pretty good. Pretty good.
That was so funny. What do you think that that Callie thinks after all this? Because it's funny because she's like, am I like dad? Am I like mom? And he's like, yeah, just like her. She's this, that, and the other. No, I mean, am I crazy and fucked up? He's like, oh, well, as far as that, the wilderness. I wonder how much about the wilderness she knows. Does she know about the cannibalism?
Nothing, as best I can tell. And that's the thing that keeps intriguing me and interesting me about these scenes is Jeff reveals the information that will make Callie feel bad for her mom, not the fucked up shit that she did while she was out in the wilderness that would completely turn her against him.
Does Jeff know all that? I know he had access to the journals, but did he read them as a form as part of the blackmail?
I think so. There's a scene where he tells her all that stuff you had to go through, like it was horrible, you shouldn't feel bad, it was survival.
But how much of that is the official story? Like,
Well,
that's
it's
the
during
one thing.
a discussion where they're talking about him stealing the journals. So I do think he's read them. I do think he knows everything.
Okay, so he knows everything, but do you have a good idea of whether it's in the general public knowledge of the Yellowjackets that they ate people? Because it's starting to feel like not.
I don't.
Which is very hard for me to believe with the Jackie's remains sitting on the airplane seat and everything.
That's the thing. I don't think we have that information yet. I know people are highly intrigued by what went on out there. And I can see that being one of two things. Like, hey, these people survived. We have no idea how they did it. And they won't say anything. So we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Or it could be, we know these people survived by eating their friends. I want to hear more about that because that's fucked up.
Yeah, I can see the fascination going
really
from both sides, the same as you.
It could be a mystery, or it could be a morbid fascination with eating their friends.
It is like, I also will say that I'm getting a little bit more tired of these mysteries just purely from an audience perspective, because this information is known in the world. Everyone knows it. Everyone in this world has heard of the Yellowjackets, and they know that they're either the mysterious girls that survived 19 months in the wilderness, we have no idea how, or they're the cannibal kid band, like it's feeling more and more like the world doesn't know.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. They just made a pact not to say anything.
Yeah. It's just too fucked up. No one will understand but us. And here you go.
But using some nuggets of truth here, I think, is fairly interesting, especially when you're manipulating your daughter. And I don't know, does Jeff see it as manipulating his daughter?
I don't think so.
Or does he see it as comforting and protecting his daughter from the truth?
I think it's the latter. I think he sees it as, like, why tell her the ugly stuff? I can just tell her the fucked up stuff that she, that'll make mom feel sympathetic and because like yeah, I don't know, because like Callie also was horrified about the information she found with her mom. So yeah, maybe if he told her everything, it would push her away. But it definitely, she definitely sees a difference between her and her mom at this point. Like her mom's gone through things above and beyond what she has at this point.
Totally. And that's Jeff's point, is that that's not her baggage, right? Like, she doesn't have the same experiences, so she's not going to be as fucked up. The thing that I love about this, though, is he's also, I think, trying to protect her from the feelings that he's currently having, too. This idea of, like, your mom might be more of a psychopath than we think, and she might be more dangerous than we think, and we're both stuck in this with her at this point. I don't think he wants her to feel that, because he just woke up from a horrible dream, right? So he's trying to keep those details from her so that she won't be stuck mentally in the same position that he is, even though she's stuck in that position regardless.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Next scene is real quick. Walter grabs a purple jacket and heads out in his pajamas. Where are you going, man? Is he going to change before he leaves, or is he just out the door in those pajamas?
I think him getting that, like, to me, this read as a really fancy article of clothing that you might get dolled up to go meet a girl who just declared psychotically her love for you in an unhinged voicemail.
It's possible.
Like it's purple. It's Joker-esque colors, and that also, like, I could see them just leaning in, and he just shows up in either like this crazy Willy Wonka / Joker suit.
Yeah, no, he's definitely headed to the Queen compound, though, for sure. To the Hive. Should we call it the Hive now? We'll see how that plays out next episode. But we're going back to 1986, where Misty tells the rest of the Yellowjackets about Lottie's wish to be eaten if she dies. Everyone wants Lottie to live, and Ty realizes that if that's going to happen, they need to figure out how to stay alive without eating her. Did not see this coming, that Ty would be the one to suggest the cannibal game. What animal could we put in there? It's not Squid Game. The bee game, I guess. That's not as cool as I
What's
want
a
it to
famously
sound.
cannibalistic animal? Like I don't like the only ones that come to mind are like amphibians and insects. So
Yeah,
the squids. Squids probably cannibalized, sure. Those Humboldt squid, so
I don't know.
vicious
I
with
feel
their feeding
bad disparaging
frenzies.
squids that way, but without
Um,
knowing.
yeah, who's going to speak for the squid? I I thought that was interesting too. That definitely, if there is such a thing as an antler queen, that definitely is putting her hat in the ring as someone who is organizing the first hunt. Let's call this what it is. This is the first hunt. Everything else has been bounties offered up by the wilderness, but this is the taking of life. Well, is a hunt that ended up taking a life, but at a remove. Maybe this is the perfectly paced way to do this hunt. I just thought the way the girls started howling and grabbing improvised weapons and just like with the ritual of the card with the I even if the Red Queen had not had her eyes gouged out and they just be like, this is the card, like it just felt like everything was a little like one or two steps further on the sophistication of the religious practices than I was expecting for. And it's like they go from like, hey, we need a way to choose people. We need to cast lots and decide who's going to die, to like this procedure with like a bequeathing of a necklace and all that. It just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're not quite to that scene yet. But
I know.
we can talk about that whole thing if you
But I
want.
was trying to connect this with like Ty being the leader, and that's where
I don't know. Let's save it until we get to that
Okay.
scene. It's very soon. But between then and now, we're going to talk about the Yellowjackets continuing to play the blame game. Shauna,
Did you, wait,
definitely
before you
comes out as
did,
the
do you think
loser.
it's interesting that the Yellowjackets believe Misty? Because like, was it Mari that like questioned her? It's like, did she really say that? But like, I thought it was a sign of the desperation of the Yellowjackets that no one really questions who Misty saying that, hey, our leader really wants us to eat her body, even though I think they all think that Misty is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're hungry enough that they
Yeah.
would believe it, no matter who said it.
Yeah, they put a token effort of like, you're not, you're not lying to us, right? But
All right, let's move back to the current day. The Yellowjackets continue to play the blame game, with Shauna coming out as the clear loser. Nat wants to talk about how fucked up they all are, but Lottie says, nope, talking is no good. We have to give the wilderness what it wants, and what it wants is one of us. I don't know that there's a ton more to talk about with this blame game here. The next scene with them is going to be a little more to speak of.
the only interesting thing I thought was Shauna's saying, and I thought this is smart, this is kind of, this felt true, is that the reason the bare bedrock reason that Shauna lied to the group about Jeff is that if she was in their places, she would want to kill him.
Yeah.
And she also, I think the unspoken thing is she would have killed him. So she didn't want any of these crazy bitches coming after her family. said the craziest Yellowjacket. I like how matter of fact Natalie is about like, well, thank you for your honesty about that, Shauna, and that's why we need to talk. She's just like completely trying to stay on focus. That's why we need to keep talking and sharing in a share shack here. And then Lottie just comes in and both barrels of insanity. And I feel like
Yeah.
it's a nine episode season, right? I kind of feel like maybe there should have been a 10th, or maybe there was and they cut something that didn't work, and maybe there's a little bit too much trimmed to get it to fit within 9. I always feel like there's a story when you see 9 episodes. Like in The Last of Us, it was a 10 season episode order, and they decided to combine the first 2 episodes to make it a really gripping premiere, right? And that's why, you had a supersized episode 1, and there's only 9 episodes. 9 episode season? No one orders a 9 episode season.
Yeah, I mean, famously, I don't know if it's famously, but the reason they did that is because they had some disputes with the way that the first director was filming all of the stuff for episode 1, and they got rid of that person, and they had to combine episodes 1 and 2 to make like a whole episode with the new director and stuff.
With The Last of Us?
Yeah. So there was
there's
a lot
something not tidy about this, and I think that this episode is where the untidiness is most. Very similar to, like, didn't we see this about the last season of Fargo? That they, at the last minute, decided to get rid of and combine and rewrite a few episodes, and there was like one episode where you could feel all those kind of stress fractures shift up, or converge, and then everything else is fine. I wonder if that's what this is too, and I wonder what the story is behind it, because there's just, I feel like they needed one more beat for Lottie in between stop guys, we can't do this, kind of half-hearted resistance to like standing up and being like, I've heard all of your thoughts, and here in this sharing shack, I want to suggest we murder one of us. It's just a little too fast.
She came into this conversation with that idea. Like, the thing that worked for me, I guess, about this is the slow reveal of the therapist thing. Like, the wilderness has been influencing her the whole time, and she's now giving into it. So she comes into this conversation primed to... She's looking for the opportunity to pour the poison into the glass and say, why don't we drink this?
And she's possibly drunk. Because like I said, it's not like a hairpin turn. It's just a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit quicker than I was expecting.
Yeah, and I'm not going to argue that the season has been perfect. I think
like
there
maybe
are things like that.
Maybe
everywhere.
let them talk a little bit more, because obviously they're going to talk a lot more about the whole, and let them get a little bit more to like, what are we going to do phase, and no one has any answers, and then Lottie can step forward. But this felt like,
yeah,
a little bit like premature.
Sure, I gotcha.
I guess a little bit.
All right, let's go back to 96, where Lottie shivers, shakes, and sees visions as the Yellowjackets all choose cards. The one who chooses the Queen of Hearts is the one who gets eaten. Nat chooses it. Shauna's going to kill her, but Travis stops her long enough for Nat to make a run for it outside. And the rest of the feral girls chase her.
Can we talk about the fact that I found it extremely interesting and theory shattering that Misty is the one that does the card dealing? Like, it's like one of those things where Van gives it the test to her, and then she administers the test to everyone else. I really, for my Mari theory to work out, I thought Mari was going to be the one.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, from a certain point of view, internet points that need to be collected in this episode, right? This is one of them, where, like, absolutely you're right that the card thing is going to factor into the assignments of the roles of the girls, but will it? But the queen here seems to be not signifying who's going to be the antler queen, but who's going to be the sacrifice. So there's like a mirror universe where all of these theories were correct, and we get 100 internet points. But
speaking of mirror universes, it could, because there's two others. There's 3 other queens in the deck. The Queen of Hearts and the 2 black queens. They could
use those, yeah.
Because clearly they add on and embellish the ritual as they go. Because
they're making this up.
But I thought even at this level, they have all the improvised weapons. They look like spears and knives, and then the girls are wearing this headgear that is not like natural, but you can clearly see kind of like I don't think it's an intentional costuming, but like there is a little bit of pageantry, just maybe just bundling up to go outside. But you're right.
The whole process of selecting is pageantry, right? Like this is all.
All and the necklace of it all. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like and this stuff seems like stuff that Shauna added to it. Like, Jackie's necklace was the first. She was the first sacrifice from a certain point of view. So now you're the new one, but it's like, where did that come? I don't know. It's like it's all improvised, and I wonder if that's how it's all going to keep, like, just going to keep adding layers of stuff as it feels right to them, and that's how you get the completely elaborate animal dresses and things like that. And
I love that. It feels very organic. Like, you've got contributions from each of these kids, and and it feels like nobody could really be to blame here because everybody is so involved in creating these rituals and following them, and
maybe
the whole system is being developed by everyone.
I'm starting to talk myself out of thinking that maybe the pacing was off. I think there's a little bit off because, again, who the hell orders a 9-episode season? But I wonder, Yellowjackets at baldmove.com. I'm kind of wanting to know a gut check. What are people feeling? Are people feeling like this? The ritual and the hunt and all that stuff is like came together a little too quick in this episode. Was Lottie a little too quick, the adult Lottie, to suggest resuming this in the present day, or did this feel like everything felt like a natural outcropping of what came before? And I'm not saying it's a hairpin, although I imagine there will be a few people to say it is. I'm saying it's just a little bit faster than I was expecting. I felt like they needed another episode to let the stuff breathe.
Let's go back to the current day, where Lottie does her best Jim Jones impression, tries to convince the others to drink poison to appease the wilderness, help them survive. So here's the thing that I guess I don't like necessarily about this scene is everyone else's reaction. I don't have a major problem with Lottie suggesting this. I think she is delusional and or under the influence of the wilderness at this point. Everybody else, even contemplating, I don't know, because this is a part of their history, right? This is like, they've done this before. It isn't completely foreign. To me, if my group of friends sat down and said, yeah, one of us is going to drink poison here to make all of our lives better, I'd be like, fuck you, I'm not doing any of that, and none of you should either.
Dude, you get any six of us and someone suggests, you know what? Ago, I think we should go get Indian tonight. You'd get somebody like the fire hat, it's like, dude, yeah. Let alone be like, you know what? One of us should die tonight. There's Van's not pushing back against this shit.
No, it seems wild for these, but I don't know. So we have missing context, right? We don't know what happened between the feral girls running around chasing Javi and Nat in the woods until they're rescued. So that is like a big question mark and something that could make this almost feel normal to them,
right?
Like
and
a return
also
to
the adults here say something. Going back to our other conversation, that implies that there is stuff that they have not told the general public that if it was out, they think would ruin them. So
sure, yeah.
And we don't know, because like again, even them hunting other girls, like if it is because they were starving otherwise, like it's a weird system, but it's you're doing it for survival, and you're also 17. That's a big out for a lot of society. I know they'll probably mostly be 18 by the time they're saved, but still, So there's something else. What if they killed the first rescue party?
Yeah, they might have. I want to say we
like a hiker stumbles onto them in the middle of summer, and they're like at the height of summer, and they're like in midsummer mode, and they're all in their flower crowns, and they're like, "No, we're not done pretending yet," and they just kill them. Maybe it's something that fucked up where they could have like that second winter is all on them, like in the way that like all of this is on Misty because if she hadn't disabled the tracking device. But like, yeah, what if they fucking killed the first round of rescue?
Totally possible. Yeah, they view it as offering from the wilderness.
Or it's like that classic, story about the guy who's in a flood and he's praying for God to help, and a boat comes, and no, God's going to help me. A helicopter comes, and then he, of course, drowns, and he gets up there in the pearly gates, and he's like, God, why don't you save him? He's like, Jesus Christ, I sent 2 boats and a helicopter. What more do you want? Like there's going to be some ranger hiking through, and it's like, nah, we're waiting on the wilderness to save us, buddy. But we'll eat you in the meantime. There's got to be something that they did voluntarily, because like if they're pushed up to it, I can't believe anyone would condemn them. It's got to be some extra level of depravity or culpability that they all had to continue in their situation. I mean, to your point, like what is it? Ty that pushes back. It's like, okay, Lottie, I think you're being a little extreme. And she's like, oh, Ty, am I? You pushed your family away, killed your dog, almost killed your wife. It's like, okay. maybe Ty would be open to, Dark Ty would be open to drinking wilderness tea. Sure. Shauna, you're going to get your whole family thrown in forever jail. Okay. Another one that might, Misty, you actually did kill someone. You could be on death row yourself. Okay. Natalie, you're in so much pain to try to kill yourself. Okay, maybe that. But then it's like, Van, something's broken inside you. It's just I just feel like Van is the one that should have stood up and been like, what the? I still have a functional vehicle. No one threw my keys in the woods. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, for sure.
And then all the girls howl and run after her.
It's just a dumb thing for Shauna to say. Like, our lives aren't that bad. No, they're pretty fucking bad.
Yeah. In the inventory especially of everyone. Yours. But, like, yeah, because, like, you lay it all out. It's a lot of, either self-destructive behavior or just destructive behavior.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go over to Coach finding the tree that Javi drew, and beneath it, the warm cave that he survived in for months on end.
Yeah, did you buy that this would sustain Javi? Because I did. I thought they had enough animal bones. They had the water, the warmth, like everything. Everything was there for him to live. All
right, I've got crazy theories that are completely half baked. If you look at, okay, maybe I'm a fool. I'm trying to assign some sort of meaning to the filters that I'm seeing in this episode. And I see the blur filter with the dead mouse. I see the blur filter with Travis watching Nat and Javi get along, which I thought was interesting, considering Javi's fate this episode.
Yep.
And I see the filter here as Coach reaches for the opening to uncover it, to move the fern branch or whatever the hell it is. The blur happens. And so I'm not even sure that what we see under here is actually real.
God damn it. I mean, you're entirely right. You're entirely right. This could be like this could be another Jackie situation where we're going to check back in with Coach and he's going to be frozen. He's going to be like his ass is sticking out of the tree roots and he's just frozen solid because there is no warm cave there. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you might be right.
I don't know what it means necessarily, but I noted that they do the blur here.
All right. Let's assume it is at least partially true. There is a space under here. Maybe I noticed there's an antique lantern, like an old time looking lantern, which implies a previous occupant. I think we're going to start getting, I think the big kicking the door open and a whole other notch going from season 2 to 3 is going to be them trying to draw parallels between the previous group that was here. Obviously, someone is here with the camp, the cabin and whatnot. And
yeah, I love it. Give us a third timeline.
Oh, shit. I wasn't even thinking to hold up. But, like, yeah, we're going to start learning more about what this other group did to survive.
I think that's a great way for the show to go.
Yeah. And you're right. Get third timeline. It's triple the mystery.
And you can use the layers of timelines to say interesting things about the characters and the wilderness itself, the nature of it. I think it's a great way to go.
They got to be careful because if I see fucking Cabin Boy that Jackie saw in her death dream, if I see that fucker, then I'm going to 100% believe that the wilderness is a supernatural thing and they will no longer be able to do the tightrope. I will be scornful of the men of science out there that are still trying to make it happen.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that by the end of this show, it will be revealed 100% to be supernatural.
Okay.
I'm leaning that direction, and I think they are too.
Like I said, I am resistant to the idea because the evidence, assertions made without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. But there's definitely things they could do, and that's a big one. If I ever see that fucking dude again, then I'll know. I'll know the wilderness is real. There's some kind of because you can't even have a shared delusion like that. So I hope they know that.
Yeah, we'll see. And then we get the final scene here where Javi finds Natalie, tells her that he knows a hiding spot, and offers to take her there. And with the other girls hot on their heels, they run across the frozen lake. Javi falls through the ice, and rather than save him, Misty tells Natalie to let him drown to save herself. And that's exactly what she does. And they pull his body out they fish his body out. This is what they call ice fishing, right? When people say I'm going ice fishing, this is what they mean. They fish his body out to be fried up later.
Yeah, that's it's pretty brutal scene. It's pretty brutal, cold-blooded scene.
Oh yeah.
It's also and if you know, you know. It's been a bad week for people falling through the ice in television. I saw one this weekend on a show that just came back for a new season last week, and woof. So who bears the brunt of the blame for Javi dying? Because I noticed that Natalie's first instinct was to just uncritically just go in there and save him. Everybody
except for Natalie and maybe Misty. Everybody else collectively owns all that blame.
But didn't Misty, wasn't she the one that first like put the idea into her head that like, oh, you know, just let it happen?
This is her advising her about her self-defense. Misty is not going to chase and eat Natalie.
You don't think so?
She's there, though. I'm not actually sure why she's there if she's not there to eat her.
She was chasing. I mean, she definitely was howling and grabbed a knife and spear like the rest of them did. Why do you think that Misty wouldn't do that? Okay,
so Natalie is the only one free from blame here. And Natalie is working purely in self-defense here.
True.
It's a risky, though, because this move might not pay off, right? They might just be like, well, now we have 2 people to eat. Congratulations.
Right. Yeah.
And murder her anyway.
I think she's counting on the reluctantness of murder of her friend still. Why do you think Natalie bears no blame? Because, like, she did allow Travis...
Because it's self-defense. Like, if I murder someone, if I kill someone in self-defense, it's 100% self-defense.
Javi was trying to save her life.
Mm-hmm. And if she pulled him out of that lake, they eat her.
Wow. Well,
I think that's about as close to self-defense as you can get without her actually, like...
without it actually being
Javi attacking
legal
her.
Standard. Because, yeah, I mean, it's
without Javi attacking
it's fucked. Because, like, in the legal standard, like, unless someone's actually attacking you, I don't think you have a right to be self-defense. But, like, this isn't a weird situation where it's like, well, I had to let this guy die or they would kill me next.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's nothing in terms of legal what's going on out here. So
oh no, well, the laws are what they make them out here.
There's nothing in the Canadian Rockies rural code that excuses any of this or allows for it. So you're
there might be
probably right.
Enough people go down in the mountains. You've got to have mountain law.
What was Javi's mechanism of death, by the way? Did he freeze to death? Did he drown?
I'm going to say, yeah, it's a combination, you know, like where you get so cold you can't really breathe and then you're also underwater. Is that drowning? I don't know.
Because like cold water usually makes people not die faster, right? Like the mammalian diving reflex kicks in. Like there's people been frozen under the ice for 20, 30 minutes get revived.
Oh, all right.
They're going to put Javi over the fire. He's going to wake up. He's going to pull a van.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it. It's precedent.
Were you surprised that Nat... Like, I was a little bit surprised that Nat bucked her fate and ran in the first place.
Yeah, it's the ironic thing, or I guess the tragic thing here, not ironic, being that Travis is the reason his brother is dead, right? If Travis hadn't stood up for Nat in that moment and tackled Shauna, his brother would still be alive, but Nat would be dead.
Yeah.
Or Nat would likely be dead.
I just don't know what Shauna Travis does when they come back and be like, oh, yo, your brother died, right? And Nat didn't, and the wilderness chose, and we're going to eat him. Does he eat? Does he eat his brother? What does Lottie think about this? Because like the other thing is why she's writhing around having visions of all this stuff happening. I was trying to figure out, it's like when she wakes up, what will she think? You know, she took this vicious beating to save them all, and yet they've lost another. Although, yeah, I don't know.
She's messed up. She might think this was all part of the wilderness plan.
Well, and what you said about will the wilderness be... That's the other thing. Will the wilderness be happy that they substituted Natalie?
Yeah.
If the wilderness gives a shit. If the wilderness is a real thing. I also thought it was interesting when Shauna was putting the knife to Nat's neck. I couldn't tell if she was flashing back to the memory of the hunt of Doom coming, or it was Travis, or both. But like they kind of these fast cuts between, you know, like when Shauna was seeing Travis as the bull that needed to be slaughtered, and then Travis like having the knife put to his neck. It seems like that's what spurred Travis into tackling her. But I wondered if it's also they played the first half of that as if it was like coming from Shauna's brain, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I feel I wasn't quite sure who was seeing what in those moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. There's feels like there's no coming back from this. They were on the brink. They were ready to do something truly awful, and I think they got like halfway there with essentially letting Javi die. Here's the thing: I don't know that Javi survives anyway, falling into that freezing cold lake, however far they are from the cabin. I'm not sure he would have lived, but boy, they didn't try to help him live.
Well, I mean, is that on the way? Did Coach go this path? Is that on the way to the hot spring? Because that's why I thought he was taking her. But I guess there might be multiple hot spring locations.
Yeah, because remember
like
the one
had
that
the
Travis
one, though,
and Nat saw?
Yeah, the one
I don't think
where...
that was the same tree. I think that was a different.
That was up in
one,
the mountains,
but
right?
also marked.
But did he only use the one? Because like that big pile of bones implies that he kind of preferentially used, or maybe those are just old bones. Maybe that's an old camp that he never used.
It's possible.
Yeah. I don't know. There's not, like I said, the evidence is that there are more than one hotspot for sure. Yeah, because every time we've seen these green trees, inexplicably green trees, a couple of times this season. So there's and certainly not in these same places. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like if Javi dies, but the thing is, none of the girls, like if he was catatonic, there's no way anyone could have gotten him to the hot spring because they don't know where they're at. So yeah, maybe he dies anyway.
Probably does, but still, it's on them.
I wonder if the reason, because the other thing, why the fuck, after a 3-day blizzard, is this water not frozen solid? And this is, did I say this in the previous Yellowjackets podcast? Because there's this lake in, I don't know, one of the Nordic countries that's famous for getting these perfectly circular blue splotches on it, like on its surface. It's like it looks like someone came and just like prescribed a perfect 360-degree circle, and there are various sizes and whatnot. Well, scientists have found out that because of like there's some geothermal activity underneath this lake surface, that there's this natural thawing that happens in because the way warmth diffuses through water, and it weakens and it refreezes the ice because the geothermal stuff is not a constant output. I wonder if they're suggesting that the reason that this ice is spontaneously weakening and letting things like the white stag freeze and Javi go through is it's more evidence of geothermal activity, and that's why the river sometimes run red because of a mudslide or something. I don't know. I'm still working my man of science. Obviously it's just wilderness spirit bullshit, but I'm still trying to science this shit out, man.
Sure.
Still trying to pull a Mark Watney over
there's
here.
So much iron filings in the lake that it can't freeze.
Yeah. Earth's magnetic field bends them back and forth, and it's like a microwave and makes it warm, weakens the ice.
If only this weren't set on top of an abandoned mine.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of weird things.
If only it wasn't
there.
built on an abandoned high school steam tunnel system. That's where they went wrong.
I don't know, but we'll find out next week. It's the finale, so big things should happen, I assume. I can't imagine what it is now. I mean, surely they're not going to drink this poison. We're not going to have a main character in the adult timeline die, right?
I'm going to go the other way. I think someone has to die. But just like the Wilderness chose, I think it's going to be somebody. It's going to be somebody like
Van.
Randy or Jeff.
It's going to be Van. She's dying anyway, right? Of cancer. She'll probably be the one to drink it.
Nah, I don't. No, I actually think somebody else drinks it.
No?
Maybe Lisa.
It would be hilarious if Randy somehow drank poison.
Dude,
If Randy...
Okay, make your. Okay. Well, maybe it's a serious.
So
make your Randy joke. Let's hear your Randy joke, and then I'll tell you the real shit. Okay.
All of the girls end up drinking the cups. None of them die, and Lottie can't figure it out. And then they show Randy at home just like pouring a glass of Kool-Aid, but he forgot that was like his rat poison jug. He like switched the labels or something, and then he dies.
So the wilderness
that would
chooses.
Be so Randy.
Okay. The Randy theory, duly noted. What about the Lisa theory?
All right.
Lisa somehow ends up drinking the tea by accident or mistake, or for maybe even some nefarious purpose. It maps a lot onto the situation with Javi, because Javi tried
Doom's coming.
Javi tried to save Nat and wound up getting killed. And Lisa has tried to save Nat this season. Is going to wind up getting herself killed, taking her place.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to say Jeff or Randy, but they're not. They're not really connected in that way, and they're way far away.
Mm-hmm.
And they've really built up Lisa. Is she going to be a recurring main character?
It's possible. Yeah, I don't know. Her goldfish thing has me a little bit worried about her, because Nat was like kind of thinking about killing it, and her mom's worried that she's going to kill it. There's a lot of death surrounding Lisa and that goldfish.
Yep.
And now with death entering the equation at the compound, I feel like there's possible bad stuff ahead for her.
I think somebody has to die. It would feel kind of a cop out if they punt the tea drinking the next season. But again, maybe someone dies, so it's a wilderness chose, and they decide not to drink the tea because of that. But also, I guess the thing is like my theories are starting to compete with themselves, because if I had the theory that like, well, I think Javi is a rejected sacrifice because that's not what the wilderness chose. That's just the girls like saying a flattering lie to themselves. Well, then Lisa doesn't work in the modern day, and why would they try it if they know firsthand that the wilderness doesn't work that way? So one of those two theories has to be wrong. Perhaps both of them, because I'm just making shit up as I go along.
Randy eating a tainted bag of Fritos is probably not.
Oh, I don't ever want to hear Randy and the word taint that close together. Just like my mind conjures what things taste like, sometimes I get unbidden what things look like, and I just, Randy taint's it's not a place I want to go. Thanks.
The bad Whoppers you get. Never mind.
No! Stop it! It's already too much.
The podcast is over. The episode's over. We're gonna
Yellowjackets
at
baldmove.com.
Yep.
Twitter.com/baldmove. Hell, support.baldmove.com if you want to get a bunch of free content and ad-free feeds. Oh, speaking of also, we are doing something fun. Long-term Bald Move fans probably know that to kick off the summer season, we do a celebration of 80s and 90s badasses. We call it the Badass Fest. We've been doing this. This goes back to the beginning of Bald Move. We took a long hiatus. This is the 5th one. It's a celebration of all things 80s, 90s action heroes, with emphasis on the classics like Schwarzenegger, Sly Stallone. And we're kicking things off with a live screening of 1990's Total Recall by Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the biggest cinematic badasses of all time. We are going to be having this here in Cincinnati on June 23rd at 7:30 p.m. We are going to watch together with our Bald Move fans Total Recall, and then do a live podcast immediately after. There'll probably be a little intermission to let people hit concessions. Just a cash bar. There'll be an exclusive Total Recall themed drink, and you can get tickets for this engagement right now at baldmove.com/live. Check it out. June 23rd, 7:30 p.m. here in Cincinnati. All the details are there on baldmove.com/live, and I also put some area attractions if people are going to be traveling, driving, staying over. If you want to plan your fun weekend in Cincinnati, I got some suggestions for you. baldmove.com/live. Check it out. We'll be back sometime this week for a feedback episode, and then, of course, next week will be the finale. Whew, until we get there, I'm your host, Aaron.
And I'm Jim.
See ya.